Anyways, the point of this video is to celebrate this idea that John Frusciante is coming back to the Chili Peppers, right? And here's the thing. You know how you can tell you're old? I'll tell you how you can tell you're old. You're old when you remember the first time John Frusciante came back with the Chili Peppers. And I remember how excited I was. What was it, like 97, around then? Yeah, I think it was around 97 that he came back. 97, 98. I think Californication came out in what? I don't know. Doesn't matter. It was a long time ago. I was much younger. Life. God damn it, life. You never appreciate your youth, do you? What's that saying? Youth is wasted on the young or some crap like that. It's a good saying. I just messed it up. But the idea is when you're young, you never really appreciate how great it is to just be young and listening to John Frusciante. So I was young, and I remember how excited I was. I don't know how I heard. You know what? A friend of mine called me and he said, "Oh, did you hear the news? John Frusciante is coming back to the Chili Peppers." And I remember how excited I was because John Frusciante was my favorite guitar player, and he still is. From my era, John Frusciante is kind of unmatched. In fact, he's kind of like the last guitar hero guy. See, the thing about John Frusciante that's really interesting is he's not considered, like, if you look at the greats, like the greats that I really like. I have four like sort of all-time favorite guitar players. Now the other three are kind of like in this group that people know. So Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Those are my three favorite guitar players. If I just want to play around, like if I'm listening to music and I just want to play around on guitar, those are the three that I would always play around with, to play songs with, right? So you got Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Jimmy Page. Those are like the three guys for me, right? But for me, John Frusciante is in that list. So those are like my four guys. Now for some people, that might be weird. Like, you're going to put John Frusciante in the same league as Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimmy Page. And yes, I would. Like, for my era, he is that guy. And to me, there's not even a close second for my era, like as far as who that guy is. What makes John Frusciante so interesting is that there's a lot of good guitar players, but with John Frusciante, what makes him good and what makes him interesting and what makes him special, unique, is just such a collection of things. First of all, he could be in any band. Incredibly diverse. John Frusciante could have been in the Pixies, could have been in Nirvana, could have been in Radiohead, could have been in the Ramones. He's as legitimately punk rock as it gets, even though he's not what you would think of as like a classic punk rock guy, but he's as punk rock as any punk rocker. He could have played with even more like technical players. You know, he could have played with Frank Zappa. Yeah, so you're talking about a guy who could have played with Frank Zappa, or could have played with the Ramones. He's just so incredibly diverse in his abilities and his styles and his taste. And on top of all his natural abilities and talents, what I like about him so much is just his purity of music. He's a very rare breed. You know, there's just some people that you enjoy listening to, even if, like, for example, he's written a lot of music and he's got a lot of solo albums. And when you listen to him play music, even if you don't necessarily love every single song he's ever written and think it's the best thing ever, you enjoy listening to him because there's just like an innocence and a purity in his music that's very rare. There's very few artists who have that level of innocence and purity in what they do. So in a weird relation, he's such a rare breed in his field. It's kind of like, imagine how, you know, a lot of people don't like politicians because the stereotype of politicians is that they're all corrupt, narcissistic, and they're really only in it for their own profit and gain, you know? So people just don't like politicians. In the world of politics, he would be like that one politician that you actually like, because even though he's in politics, somehow miraculously he's got this innocence and this purity and this integrity about what he does, that you actually admire him as what he is, which is very rare. That's how I see him in the music world, you know? And yeah, it's pretty exciting to, you know, I guess for the younger generation of people who are into the Chili Peppers, it's probably really exciting because maybe now they get a chance to see him live. I saw the Chili Peppers live. I was like, you know, like 3 feet away from John Frusciante. I saw them live, I think it was on the Californication tour, right when he came back. And it was like this small, I don't know, it was an outdoor venue, but it wasn't really big. It was in Toronto, Canada. And I think it was around 98. And it was really cool. It was really cool, especially at that time. It was different at that time because, you know, when you're young, you see people so differently. You know, when you're young, I grew up, you know, during like the last sort of great rock and roll scene, like the Seattle scene of the early 90s, or just like rock and roll in general. It was just such a great time for rock music. And at that time, those guys were like gods to me. Now I just see them as people. It's funny. So at that stage, it was like the last time period where I kind of really saw them as this thing of like, whoa, I'm like 4 feet away from John Frusciante. This is so cool. It's weird how that changes when you get older. Like, you just see them as regular, flawed human beings that are just really talented. But ironically, with John Frusciante, it kind of goes a bit beyond that, because with a lot of them, looking back now, the way I saw them before as these gods, now I just really see them as just these regular sort of guys just playing music. But ironically, John Frusciante I kind of still hold him up on the pedestal a bit as far as just his musical integrity and his innocence and his purity with his music. Like I said, it's a very special and unique trait. And when you look at someone like him who's genuinely almost given his soul and his life to music in such a way where it's just really about the music and nothing else, it's an admirable thing. And it, like I said, it doesn't matter. His purity and his innocence towards his music should be admired, and people should strive for that at any aspect of life, whether you want to become a politician, a school teacher, whatever you're doing, to do it with that level of purity and innocence and passion is amazing. And I think for that alone, it's pretty exciting to have him back. And I'd be curious to see what he writes with it. You know, if the Chili Peppers start making music again and writing, which I'm sure they naturally will, because I think anytime Flea and John Frusciante are together, they just naturally write. I think they're just, they have a particular chemistry where, like, I'm sure that even if they're not purposely trying to write a new album, they probably will accidentally, just because those two work so well together. They just probably can't help but write music. Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm sort of an old school Chili Peppers guy, so for me, Blood Sugar Sex Magic was sort of the peak Chili Pepper sound that I like. I don't necessarily connect with the stuff after that much. Californication is really cool too. But for me, Blood Sugar Sex Magic was sort of like, when I imagine the Chili Peppers and John Frusciante, that's the sound and style that I really like. And Californication is really cool too. And I kind of see Chili Peppers in three kind of phases. You kind of had their pre-Blood Sugar Sex Magic phase, where it was just like a lot of crazy slap bass and really wild and funky and like craziness. And then it's got like that middle phase, that blood sugar sex magic phase. And then there's like the third, like the stadium arcadium kind of Chili Peppers. Not really my kind of thing, but I love John Frusciante so much that it doesn't really matter. I just like I like the idea of him being in the Chili Peppers, just because, I mean, that's his home. So it's kind of cool to hear that he's back. At least that's the rumor. That's the word on the street. That's what I heard. So we'll see how that happens. But it's weird because I haven't really been crazy about anything they've done that much since Californication. And yet, any time that they release a new album with John Frusciante, I was always curious and excited to have a listen, because I just always think that when Flea and John Frusciante get together, there's always that potential of something really cool that I might like. And like I said, there's some people that you always listen to in hopes of, just because you admire their energy that they put towards the music. So you always give them the benefit of the doubt. To me, like if somebody said there's a new Chili Pepper song coming out, I'm always going to be excited to listen to it just in case. Even though, like I said, the Stadium Arcadium era of the Chili Peppers, stylistically, it's just not something I connect with that much, but anything that John Frusciante puts out, I'm going to be excited to give a listen to. And yeah, when I heard, it was really mostly about thinking what it must be like for the younger generation hearing he's back, because I'm sure John Frusciante has an insane amount of fans, younger fans. But back in 98, 97, 98, when I heard he's coming back, I remember how excited I was. Now it's more of like just a nostalgic feeling. But yeah, pretty crazy. John Frusciante is back with the Chili Peppers again. Yeah, really not sure what the point of this video was. Mostly about just reminiscing. Maybe there's some old school Chili Peppers fans out there, and they remember what it was like when he came back to the band in 98. How exciting and how cool that was. And also, to sort of end off the video, people gave Dave Navarro a lot of flack for being in the Chili Peppers. You know, they did the One Hot Minute album, and there's a lot of mixed feelings about it. I actually think that the One Hot Minute album is a pretty cool album. Obviously, no one's going to really suit the Chili Peppers the way John Frusciante does, because, I mean, that is the Chili Peppers, you know, that sound. But I thought it was a cool and interesting album. I don't think it deserves the sort of negative Yeah, I've just heard a lot. I think that there's just a lot of purists out there who don't want to hear anything that doesn't involve John Frusciante. In fact, what's actually funny about that is I've actually heard interviews with John Frusciante where he said he never even listened to the album. So, yeah, you know. But John Frusciante is he's a very interesting guy with his music. I think that he's such a purist and has such a particular thing. When he's excited about something, he's all about that. But when he moves on to the next thing, he kind of, I think he doesn't even want to repeat himself. I don't even think he likes looking back at his own stuff. I get the impression that when he gets excited about something, he moves on to it and he just kind of forgets about what he's done, and he's really just always looking forward, looking to explore something new. So I think that him not wanting to listen to One Hot Minute, I have a feeling he feels that same way about a lot of his own music. So that kind of is what it is. But yeah, John Frusciante is back with the Chili Peppers. This was basically just my nostalgic ramble about John Frusciante, and I think it's about time to end it. So have a good day, guys. Bye.